Close enough.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Breakfast with Bobbi. I'm Kristina. This is my co host, Bobbi, and we are here to talk about everything and nothing. And so, what's new with you, Bobbi?
Well, hi there. I'm so glad to be back again. This is a blast.
It
What's
is.
new with me? Oh gosh, probably shouldn't ask that. The list is long. There's always something going on. But in addition to that, I thought a good topic today might be being vulnerable and flying your freak flag because people tend to get really kind of quelled in their behavior because they're afraid of what other people are going to think.
Okay.
I am one. I'm probably the biggest one. Um, Neurotic to the point of watching everything that I say. And this year, this my New Year's resolution, albeit late. I'm just going to go for it.
Go
Um,
for it.
I you know
Nothing to lose.
I think I'm just going to get rid of the rule book. I realized this discussion topic came by way yesterday. Uh, I haven't seen my mentor, my coach, in about 3 weeks. And I had been thinking about her, and I purposely was not contacting her because I didn't get my homework done. And I felt that unless everything was, the dots were dotted and the T's were crossed, I just wasn't able to call her and make the appointment. And here I am sitting at my desk doing my proper journaling, and my phone buzzed, and it was her. And she said,
Okay.
She said, "What's bothering you?" And I thought, "Oh God, I hate psychic people. Jesus, that's just a,
Gee.
a that's a lot, So now I have to now I
Yeah, we
have to
psychic
talk to her.
people really appreciate that. Hey, thanks.
Well, I'm kind of one of them,
I
but
know you are, but you've been denying it for too long.
well, there's that. Um, so I've realized that after talking to her, because she called me after that,
Hmm.
um, that in my life, I grew up being an obedient child. And I think I talked earlier about having five brothers and sisters and, taking copious amounts of notes and how they behaved and what to do and what not to do. And I realized that unless I was obedient, I was not, that was my source of love. When I became obedient, that's how I got love.
Okay.
If I behaved well, then I could have love. And isn't that, I think that kind of folds into a lot of different things. That's the shame and the guilt and the, feeling bad about yourself and losing confidence in everything. But I have had a good talking to, not only yesterday, but today, with another one of my coaches. And the deal is throw away the rule book. You don't necessarily need to have all of that proper behavior in order to be A, successful, and B, liked. And some people just like that when you're naughty. And albeit I haven't shown it in this, I have to admit I'm a little naughty.
I'm just gonna.
Well, I'm quite creative and I'm very
You
resourceful.
you are creative and resourceful. Yes, ma'am, you are.
And I do try to behave well. Uh, so, but there is a point in time when I'm with some people that I sort of let loose and just stop behaving. Um, and I don't know what it is. Sometimes people perceive me to be misbehaving and perceive that I could be a little naughty, and then I'm accused of doing things that I never did, like stealing their clothes in college or something crazy. That wasn't me, I swear. It wasn't me.
Were you wearing them?
Shh. It was a long time ago, and I hope they're not listening.
I'm just messing with you. You know
I know,
that.
I know.
Yeah. Vulnerable can be hard. And it can be very, very difficult to be vulnerable when being vulnerable leaves you open to attack, verbal, energetic, sometimes physical. It can be scary to be vulnerable. And it can be scary to step out and say, this is me, deal with it, you know?
It's difficult to always be safe, and in order to
Yeah.
progress and grow, you have to get to a point of tipping your toe into the water and being a little bit unsafe and go into the cold water and being shocked a little bit. And sometimes you come out of the water uh, in better shape than you went in, thinking, well, I feel a lot better, and that wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, which
Hmm.
happens to me a lot. I over anticipate things. I try to plan things, and sometimes that doesn't always work.
Right.
So just trying to be myself uh, is a task in and of itself.
I think it's sad that we have to try to be ourselves. Like,
Yeah.
shouldn't that be the most normal thing? Just to be? Shouldn't that be like the most normal, comfortable thing, just to be and be ourselves? I mean, to have to try to be ourselves, there's something seriously screwed up about that.
Well, it's all the rules that society puts on you about how to behave and how to talk to people and to sound like you're educated or whatever. But the fun is really in the casual, off the cuff remarks and just forgetting that you're being watched. It's kind of like dancing when no one's watching.
Right, but I don't think that those are two different things. I don't think that being professional or polite or behaving as a decent human being has to be separate from being ourselves. Because I feel like I'm all of those things when I'm myself. And sometimes I'm silly. And because myself isn't one thing.
Right. And I know a couple of sessions ago or so, I was joking that I had many personalities, and there is
Mhm.
that. We all have many. So the
Right.
professional personality and the kind personality and being compassionate and whatever else you add into that formula
But that's all are
adds up to
still
you.
who we are.
Right.
All of it is who we are,
Mhm. Well,
so.
fear gets in the way a lot of your own performance. I know being in sports my entire life, and at 57 starting taekwondo and eventually getting a black belt, I was in my head a lot and
Mhm.
just I freaked out because people were watching me. Uh, the overhead feeling of that makes you behave differently. I think there's scientific research about that when something is being watched, even if it's an energetic cell, it
Mhm.
behaves differently. And the same with human behavior.
Can you say that again? Because my drowned out what you said.
Uh, there is scientific papers written on how cells behave when they're being watched as opposed to not being watched. And I think that goes along with your own cellular memory in your body that when you know someone is watching you, you behave differently.
Right. Right. And I agree that I think that that's obviously the case. I mean, it took me a while to get used to being on camera,
Yeah.
to doing, you know, it took my friend Diet a year to talk me into doing a radio show. It took a long time, and she was persistent. And, then I had 2 radio shows, and now I'm on 5 podcasts. And, I feel like I live kind of in front of a camera and a microphone, where 3 years ago that terrified me.
Yeah, I'm
And
not going to lie. This terrified me when you brought this up to me, and that's why I've been resisting it for the past year.
mhm,
Um, the fact that someone is watching you and judging you is really, it's not about being watched, it's about being judged.
yeah, you're right. It is about being judged. And I care less about that now probably than I ever have, but it's still there.
That's why you're so relaxed and you look so put together when we're doing this, because you don't really care. And you've gotten accustomed to this kind of life and you've adjusted to it. And I'm
Right.
still trying to adjust to it.
You know
This
what
is,
it boils down to, though? This goes all the way back to 2014. Remember when I got really sick and I had to have that lung surgery?
yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
And the near death experience that came with that,
Yes.
that was my turning point. That was my turning point. when I said, I'm not going to do anything that doesn't bring me joy. I'm only going to do things that bring me joy. And that was such first of all, it's not 100% true. I still do things I don't like doing, but some of those things have to be done so I can do the things that I like to do, right?
Yeah,
So
we all do.
we all do. I mean, that's just being an adult. But ultimately, everything that I do points to joy. It points to me living the joyful life I'm choosing to live. And the amount of internal work that went into that has been amazing. Like when they say face your shadow work, that's a big buzz phrase right now, right? Do
Yes.
your
Yep.
shadow work. People don't really explain what that is, but it really is
Yeah.
facing the deepest, darkest fears that you have about yourself.
Right.
It's about facing the safety issue of not feeling safe. And
Right.
that can be on so many levels, like emotional safety is huge. How many of us are talking about feeling emotionally safe?
Right. Well, you know
You
that I
know?
am doing shadow work and I'm working
Yeah.
with a couple of people on that. And the shadow adult part of it is, um, for me, the child is the misunderstood child. That's when you excessively talk, and you've talked to those people where your eyes are spinning back in your head, and they're still talking, and you're like, "Aren't you done yet?" So
Yeah.
that's the misunderstood child. But then you have the adult part of it, the shadow adult, where you might be the enabler, uh, permitting people to do stuff.
Mhm.
And after a while, you get good at recognizing which shadow that is, and you can see it in other people. So
Mhm.
the emotional part of that, which part of the emotions?
Yeah.
I could look up in my book about which shadow part of it. But so when people say I'm doing shadow work, the question is which shadow are you looking at? Because
Well,
there's
and not only that, because a lot of people don't even know what that means,
Mhm.
and that's really what it
Yeah.
boils down to for me was that I didn't even call it shadow work because to me, the shadow part of myself was the parts I just didn't know. That doesn't mean they were all
Yeah.
dark or negative. It's just, I've discovered I have some abilities, some talents I had no idea I had.
Right.
Sitting here doing this is one of them. I had no idea that I had that ability, but that was in my shadow,
Mm.
and that was hidden behind safety. That was hidden behind if people don't see me, they can't judge me. They can't criticize me. They can't talk to me in a way that makes me uncomfortable if they can't see me.
That's right. That's why we are
Yeah.
hindered in doing what we should be doing, and going outside the box, tipping your toe in the water, and just expanding, being
Hmm.
expansive rather than contractive.
Right. And honestly, I removed the word should from my vocabulary.
Oh,
Quit shoulding on yourself.
wouldn't want to do that.
No, but that is something that I remove from my vocabulary because when I'm doing things that I should be doing, I'm not doing things I want to be doing. And it can be the same task. It's how I look at it.
It's always how you look at it, no matter
Always
what
how we look at it. Yeah.
it's your perception of things
Mm-hmm.
is another thing. I remember you and I were talking about some of the smaller videos that we were doing, and the first time I looked at them, I in my head, what I recalled was not what it really was when I looked at it the second time. So your perception of things can really skew reality or
Mm-hmm.
your portion of reality. And every time you look at it, your reality is different.
Right.
And that's pretty deep.
Yeah.
There
And a
we
little
go.
confusing.
Right.
Yeah. I totally get that. Being vulnerable. I don't know. There are still some times when I'm not vulnerable. And some of that comes down to discernment too, because sometimes it really is not safe to be vulnerable. And I'm talking like, sometimes it's not physically safe. I don't go walking around in the dark by myself in town.
Right.
That's not safe. That makes me vulnerable in a way I don't want to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
So
I
I don't do it.
I don't know if I'd even call that vulnerable. Well, I suppose I think that's just plain
Smart.
ignorant. It's not smart to do that.
Right. It's smart not to do that, is what I was
Right.
trying to say. Yeah.
When we grew up, there was no such a thing as cell phones, and now you don't leave your house without it.
Right.
It's amazing how society has changed and how we look at things and the fears of reality of how what can happen. And even on
Hmm.
the side of the road, if you have a flat tire, you can't just trust anybody to just help you change the tire. You
Right.
don't know what's going to happen after that.
Hmm.
You lock your windows and your doors and you tell them you don't need any help and hope they don't do anything different.
Which is sad.
It's incredibly sad. You
But let's also bring up the technological point of having a cell phone. My cell phone is the GPS that hooks into my car. It's
yes.
my map.
Yeah,
It gets
right.
me where I'm going. And my husband pointed out, he's like, you don't have to plug your phone in every time you get in the car. I'm like, well, I do if I need to find out where I'm going, because that's how my car brings up the map,
Mm,
is through Android Auto.
mhm.
If the phone isn't plugged in, I don't have GPS.
Back in the day,
That
we used
too.
to just read maps to tell us where to go.
I know, and I was really good at it.
Yeah.
But this is easier. It's more convenient.
Uh, Funny thing of that subject last night on Channel 6, uh, they were talking about the state of Wisconsin gives away the state maps. The state of Wisconsin maps are
Mhm.
free
Yeah,
in all of and I don't think a lot of people know that.
at all the
They,
rest areas and yeah.
right, exactly.
Mhm.
So, one of the TV guys says, "Oh gosh, I used to read maps all the time," and says to the other person, "Do you read maps?" And she says, "What? Are you nuts? That's what I have a GPS for. I don't know how to read maps. I'd never get there."
I taught my kids how to read maps
It's
from when they
important.
were really little because we spent a lot of time driving around. I mean, coast to coast and whatever. We drove a lot. I taught them how to read maps. But the thing is, honestly, like the GPS maps are so much more convenient because that paper map is never going to tell me
Right.
when there's road construction.
Yes.
It's not going to tell me when the road is shut down because of an accident. It's not going to reroute me to avoid something.
Well, and
You know,
speaking of
so
rerouting, my
yeah.
mine sometimes picks out by way the crow flies to get me there, and I've been there 3 times, but don't recall exactly how. And she takes me a different way. And I call her a she because sometimes that's her voice. I don't want to
Mhm.
say that women don't know where they're going because that would be terrible. Because we do know where we're going. We just don't
My
know how to.
my mom has built-in GPS. Like it's amazing. She always just gets where she's going without ever looking at a map, without looking at a GPS. She just gets where she's going. She just follows it. That's her intuition.
I tried that. I tried using my intuition. I I did not get there, wherever I was going, but I got somewhere else, albeit that's not where I was going. So,
I have done that, but not since I've had GPS. I've become way too reliant on it.
mm, me too.
Yeah.
Back in the day when they first came out, I did ask for one for Christmas, and I figured that was, my birthday is a week after New Year's, and so I figured they'd wait until after New Year's and whatnot, and I got it for Christmas, and I said, "Well, I thought I wasn't getting this until my birthday," and he said, "Bob, you got lost twice today. You need this now, so you can get back home."
Okay, that's fair.
He was right. I come by it honestly. Oh,
It's all good. It's all
yeah,
good. It's
my my inner GPS sometimes doesn't work well.
yeah. And I know we got off of vulnerability, but
We sure did.
we get
And
off and go in different directions all the time. It's all good. Um,
I'm being vulnerable today, telling you that my sin about my inner brain GPS, just like the pigeon on TV. Where's north? It's up there. That's up. That's not north.
looks like north on the map.
Well, right. Up
Up.
is north.
Yeah, all the time. Um, shoot, there was something else I was just going to say. Oh, about being like when you have car trouble and you're on the side of the road and Yeah, that can be a little bit scary, but back when I had my van, I don't know if you remember my big gold van that I had. Um,
I don't.
anyway, I was driving and the hood popped open at highway speed and shattered my windshield.
Mm.
And so I managed to get pulled off to the side of the road, but I was actually on a bridge on the road.
Oh.
And um, I was on the phone with my mom because I was actually on my way to her house to help her do something. And there was a county truck with like, I don't know, there was like 5 guys in it. I don't know if they were doing like road work or whatever, but they got out and they were like, we got to get this down and get you off of here. This is a dangerous place for you to be. So they like got me up to like just past the bridge was a road where I could just turn and sit and be out of highway traffic. Okay.
Mhm.
And that's what they did. They forced my hood down and um, kind
Wow.
of like steered me off. And they were like, okay, you're safe until your tow truck gets here. And then they got in their truck and they left. And I said, thank you very much. I very much appreciate your help. I did have that twinge of I'm not safe. This is how I'm going to die.
Oh.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I think it's so sad that we feel that way, and particularly women feeling that way. You know, it's
There's
it's sad.
it's hard to, but then you find those people that are kind and compassionate and really
Hmm.
mean what they say, and you just realize that chivalry isn't dead, and
Right.
that there really are kind people out there, and you just need to be one of them as well.
Yeah, exactly. And my mom was like, they're gonna go. I mean, like she was like terrified that they were gonna hurt me. I'm like, they're here to help me. They're
Right.
here to help me. That's what they're here to do. And honestly, they're in a big Orange County truck. Everybody can see them. They're not going to hurt me.
Right. Mm.
You know? But I did have that flash, and I really don't like that I had that flash. I don't like that I felt like that was like so automatic that I
Well,
had that flash of fear, you
yeah,
know? I
it's a
just
natural reaction to try to be safe all the time.
right, but why are we so afraid of men?
Well,
Yeah,
don't need to say
exactly.
that.
And honestly, most of the guys out there would definitely help somebody in that situation.
Right. I've had that happen.
Yeah.
And of course, I've gone in the ditch. The kids were little and we were on our way up north and there was an ice storm and I was plugging away. I couldn't turn around and go back home. And we slid, my hind end of the car slid into the ditch. And of course, the two kids were sitting in the back seat. And there was a guy that came up and of course, my first instinct was to recoil. And he said, let me just help you get out of here. So he hooked a rope on my bumper and pulled me out of, otherwise I'd be probably still sitting there. No.
All these years later.
Eating grass,
Eating grass and
drinking the,
gravel.
right, just like the birds, drinking the
Okay,
water out of the ditch.
there you go. But yeah, I get what you're saying though. And it's like, honestly though, most of the men who stop to help people are really helping people,
Right.
you know? And I feel like it says something really sad about our society that as women, our first reaction is, I'm going to get hurt.
Well, it's kind of like everything else that places that should be safe now are not safe. Schools and churches and
Hmm.
places that were never like that are like that. And it's kind of scary. You just got to keep going and do the best you can with what you got. You can't stop living.
Right.
Um,
And really what it comes down to is collectively, we have the power to shift that energy.
Collectively, we do. That is correct.
Collectively, we have the power to shift that energy. And it's not about going out and I mean, protesting, I guess, can be helpful, but it's really about shifting the energy about it and sending love out into the world. And, um, you know, I've been part of different groups that have done that. And the feeling, the powerful feeling of love that moves through you
Hmm.
when you're sending love out into the world and creating safety on an energetic level, because everything starts on an energetic level.
That is true.
Everything.
Yes. Life is energy.
Hmm.
Mm.
Yeah. And so we have the power collectively to shift that. We just have um, a lot more people living in fear than living in love.
It would just be so much easier if people told you what they needed
Hmm.
and asked for help rather than stealing it on some level, or
Hmm.
making someone else's life miserable.
Yeah, but how often would somebody ask for something and be told no, or be,
Yeah, that's true.
be
Right.
chased off, or, after a while you learn not to ask,
That's right. Even in your own house.
even in
Even,
your own house.
right.
Yep. Yep. It's amazing how we teach each other how to behave with each other, you know?
Yes. We teach each other how to treat each other.
Hmm. Absolutely. Yeah.
So on another vein, I
Hmm.
uh I was listening to a podcast last night on the Chinese New Year. Have you heard anything? That's coming up. It's like February 4th, I want to say, or maybe
Okay.
it's the 8th, somewhere in there. But this next year apparently is going to be a pretty high energy, it could be volatile, need to be working with the wood dragon energy, which is what the,
It is the year of the dragon. Yeah.
yes, yes. Um, so being vulnerable and a student and being honest is really the keys for this coming year. And um, working with all of that, just being integritous,
Hmm.
which, we try to do that every day. But when your ego gets in the way, then things start to go south.
Yeah.
So that was really the big message in a nutshell,
Hmm.
working with the wood dragon energy.
Right. Connecting with the energies of this year can go one of two ways depending on the energy you put into it,
It's always
you
about
know?
what you put into it, isn't it?
What it is, but this is like heightened. And so it's the year of the dragon in Chinese astrology. It's 2024 is um, a big year for change
Yes.
in traditional astrology.
Mhm.
How many people, how many channelers have been bringing through messages about this year can be phenomenal if you ride the wave.
Yes. You work with it
If
correctly.
you work
Yeah.
with it, and if you resist it, it's going to be really hard. And so I have been consciously every day going, okay, I'm working with it. Just guide me, guide me, guide me every day. Thank you for guiding me. And I'm talking to my spirit guides, or the universe or whoever's in control of this insanity. And, just guiding, just following the guidance that I get every day. Because honestly, I don't think I'd survive another year like last year.
So how was last year? Tell me more. What?
Well, it started with my son's suicide.
Yeah.
That set the tone for the whole year. It was just one loss after another for the whole year.
I had a year like that too.
Yeah,
Not last year, but several years ago. Three of my siblings died within a period of a couple of years, and then my father-in-law and all that. It was just one death after another, and after a while, you tend not to react anymore. But the
right.
death of it all, it really, um, your energy field is very affected, and
Mm-hmm.
to try to work with that and then be part of the all and try to get yourself on track, because that little needle is always in the background poking at you
It
somewhere.
is. Yeah. Yeah. And it started out with my son and it ended with my other child's father, December 27th.
Yes.
So it was like, and then there were several, not deaths necessarily, but losses in between there, the radio station shutting down, losing my show.
Mm,
Um, a friend of mine who told me couldn't be friends anymore, didn't want to be friends anymore. And um, just, going for a house and not getting it. And, so it was just like one perceived loss after another
right.
for 10 solid months. And I was like, I came into 2024 going, I need to leave the feeling of all of that on the other side of the calendar page.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and and I know I've had people say, well, it's just day to day, that starting over the calendar doesn't make a difference. But in my mind, it helps me compartmentalize, and it helps me leave it back there. You know,
It's all
not
about
that
your perception.
right.
Yeah,
And not that I can leave my son back there. That's never going to happen. But
right.
the rest of it, I can say, okay, it happened. It's back there. Move forward.
So is that a betrayal thing,
What
or
betrayal thing?
the losing all of those people and losing
I don't
where?
think it was a betrayal thing so much for me. It was more of a kind of just suck the wind out of my sails.
Yeah, a little bit of rejection, maybe.
Oh, there was some rejection. Yeah. I don't feel that any of it was betrayal.
Okay.
You know, I don't feel betrayed. I felt deflated,
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm.
know, a little defeated. But again, leaving that back on the other side of the calendar page and just kind of making that my new starting point, you know.
Stepping
All
over
right.
the line. Yeah.
Yeah.
I once worked in a place that, and as strong as I was when I got there, I know I mentioned my business background and having a degree in business administration and stuff. And then I went into a different culture, thinking that it was going to be easy and being spiritual at that point as well,
Mhm.
walking into a place where there was nothing and most people were kind of asleep and not awakened in the least. And
Mhm.
um, I thought that perhaps I could change that. And after after 7 years, I realized that one person cannot change the collective. You inevitably get sucked into it, whatever
Mhm.
was there. As strong as you are, it takes a long time. You can keep at it and keep at it, but eventually you turn a little bitter, and then there's a lot of rejection going on, and there's sadness, and
Mhm.
all the other feelings that come with that bitterness and resentment, and you never really get ahead. So for whatever that's worth, that was my takeaway. That was my gut wrenching 7 years of what the hell was I doing and why didn't I get out of there sooner?
Right. The almighty paycheck.
Yeah, that's true. Right.
Yeah. Cuz
We're
you know, it costs to live on this planet.
Yeah, and you got to have insurance, and
Mhm.
you have expenses that the bills need to be paid.
Mhm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they do say, if you can do something you love every day, you're not working. Well, there are some people that are not fortunate enough to be able to do that, to do what they love. They are
Mhm.
placed in a place where they have to make money and they got to suck it up.
Right. Right. I did that for years. And honestly, I don't love every day of what I'm doing because there's a lot of paperwork involved in that. There's accounting that you have to do every day that you work.
Yeah.
There's scheduling and marketing, and I don't like marketing. I don't like tax prep. I don't like a
Yeah.
lot of this stuff that allows me to do what I love to do, you know?
So,
So
do you find yourself procrastinating? What do you do about procrastination then?
I procrastinate.
Okay, let's ask something different.
Okay.
Why? Why do you procrastinate?
Um, I will sometimes procrastinate if I find something that's difficult
Yes,
that I'm
that's
struggling with
because I don't know how to do it.
because I don't know how to do it. And you know, there are some people, I believe my husband is one of those people where he just keeps trying different things to make it work until he figures it out. And I'm okay, so let's talk about computers. Bane of
Of
my existence some days.
course.
So I can be working, like trying to figure something out on the computer. I will do the same thing 6 or 7 times. He will come home. I will stand there and watch him do exactly the same thing I did 6 times, and it'll work. I have
Well,
no
good thing
idea
you got
why.
that out of the way. You prepared it for him. It was the seventh try that really made the difference. So it's
Apparently, it
not you, Christina.
was.
I'm sure it's not you.
And he just says, yeah, right, and walks away, you
Yeah, I
know?
know.
And I'm like, okay, so I didn't just do that I didn't just spend my whole day trying to do what you did in 5 minutes, you
Mm,
know? So what that has taught me is that sometimes it's okay that I don't do some of this stuff. Sometimes I just find someone else who can do it. You know, I just had my whole website revamped.
mm,
It never would have looked that good if I did it. It never would have functioned that well if
sure.
I did it.
Yeah.
You know,
So
sometimes it's just time
yeah,
is more important than money some days.
you just got to pay the man. You
You
just got
just
to.
gotta, you just,
Right.
because they have their expertise. I don't have to be an expert in everything.
Well, my sister used to tell me, God rest her soul, intelligence is not knowing the answer, it's knowing where to find it.
Yes.
And you knew where to find it. And your website
Yeah.
is beautiful, by the way. I saw it, and
Oh, thank you.
I was looking at some of your meditations online and stuff. Those are really very good. Your voice sounds very clear and very good and uh, relaxing. So you did a great job on all of that.
Well, thank you. That would be professional studio work where, again, I
Right.
hired experts.
You knew where to find it. You did a good
Yeah,
job.
exactly. Exactly. Sometimes you just have to do that, you
And
know?
maybe it was luck, maybe it wasn't, but it doesn't matter. You got it done.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And it's when I procrastinate, sometimes things just don't get done. And the world has not yet crashed down around me because those things didn't get done.
Well, the nice thing is that you are the owner.
Hmm.
And like it or not, positive or negative, your success depends on what you do. And so
Hmm.
if you choose not to do something, uh, it may not be as successful as it could have been if you did it yesterday. But
Right.
uh, the bottom line is that we're all still living, and so are you.
Hmm.
And so, life is still good. But
Oh,
I
life is
tend to
great.
procrastinate. Yeah, it is. I tend to procrastinate because I don't know how to do something. But if
Right.
I harness my own energy, sit my rump down at the desk and really think about it and go at it one step at a time, like eating an elephant. How do you eat an elephant? Well, one bite at a time. And if you go slow enough, you'll get it done. And I think for me, because I'm impatient sometimes, I know that's hard to believe.
Yeah.
Everything should be done yesterday. Um, if you pay attention enough and harness your own energy and be patient, it'll get done.
Yeah.
There
Eh,
comes a day when it has to get done and you just have
right.
to do it.
And you just have to do it, or you have to find someone who knows how to do it.
Right, right.
You
And
know,
after you
and
get
I have become much more comfortable with finding people who know how to do it because I can spend like literally hours and hours and hours, but my brain doesn't function the same way as a computer algorithm. So all I'm doing is repeating the same wrong thing over and over and over again
right.
because my brain doesn't look for something different, even if I tell it to.
Yeah, the definition of insanity.
Yeah, so why put myself and everyone else through it, especially the people who live with me and have to deal with the frustration afterwards.
Right. I told you, if Bobby ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. Oh, I share
Pretty
your
much,
pain.
yeah. So
Mhm.
I've really become okay with just finding people who have different expertise than I do. You know,
I think,
people seek me out for my expertise. I
right.
have no problem seeking other people out for theirs.
I don't have any trouble seeking
Yeah,
them out for their
yeah.
expertise, but I may or may not have issues paying the price they want to be paid.
Well,
And
there's that too. Yeah,
yeah,
I have to find people that are either
reason,
within my price range or willing to work with me.
right?
Yeah.
Mm.
And I'm all good with a barter system in some cases,
Yeah, I've done a
you
lot of
know?
that.
Yeah.
And it seems to work better because you appreciate what they have to offer, you learn from them, and then you give them something that you know how to do well, and you give them the best of yourself, I think.
I think so too. Yeah.
So
Yep.
everybody wins.
Yep. You know, and sometimes it doesn't work that way, but it's okay.
Right.
You
That's a
know.
learning opportunity. You have
Mhm.
to figure out how to get along with people, and
Mhm.
sometimes that's hard, but
You know, that's funny because there aren't a lot of people I struggle to get along with.
mhm. Every now and
Yeah.
again, the universe throws you one that says, what are you going to do with that? Now you got to figure it out. Either give up or cave in or
Walk away.
muscle under. Yeah, that's right. You either put up and shut up or get out.
Hmm. Yep. And with the number of scammers online lately, it's like,
That is really obnoxious.
yes, I know. Seriously, gentlemen, and I realize there probably aren't many listening to this podcast. However, gentlemen, we don't want you to post on our comments or comment on our posts saying, "Hello, beautiful. I love what you post. I tried to send you a friend request. It didn't work. Please friend request me."
Right.
Delete. Well, block, then delete. Yeah.
Yeah. I have gone so
Immediately.
far as to say this is not a dating site.
Oh, I've done that too. Oh, I didn't mean anything by that.
I'm
Let's
sure you
take this out of Messenger. Let's go to Snapchat or whatever. No,
not a chance.
dude, you're wasting my time and energy. No.
Yeah.
Well, no, you're trying to, but you're not succeeding.
Right. There you go. Yeah, I don't know. It must be a bunch of, and maybe that one person that they do hook is gonna get them whatever it is that they're looking for. I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure
whatever.
it's not. Yeah, I'm thinking it's, money and scamming and oh, it's miserable. That's
Yeah,
disappointing for me. That's
that
really
is,
disappointing
it
online.
is for me too, because I like to connect with people.
Yeah.
But it only takes one for you to start. I mean, it's
Mhm.
like, it only takes one to drag you into a conversation, and then you go, oh, yeah, I recognize this pattern. Delete.
Well, and then there's the people that do that, and then they are the hackers that get in your background and start stealing your information.
Yeah.
That bothers me too. I've been hacked a few times.
Have you?
Yeah, yeah. I have gotten messages like from my kids saying, "Mom," and I think one of them was could have been a porn site or something. Mom, there's great. That's great.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Mm,
And you can't stop it. You call somebody, you email somebody, and they're like, "There's nothing we can do. We don't know where that's coming from." And
yeah.
well, there you are with all your intelligence
Mm-hmm.
being in nowhere
Best to
land.
just not play.
It is. All right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
well, I think we've done a wide variety of topics today,
I think we have too.
and
Absolutely.
some of them all irritating.
Mm-hmm. I think we pushed some buttons today.
Well, my buttons were pushed before I got here, so
Well, before we go though, I do want to say subscribe, ring the bell, support us, share our videos, help us reach a larger audience, because sometimes we say something that someone else needs to hear, and the message needs to get to whoever that is.
I agree.
Yeah.
It's been fun, you guys. Thanks
All
so
right.
much.
Yeah. Have a great day. Oops.
Until